Well, just moments ago, our very own Bev Turner was joined by the President of the United Nations Security Council, Mike Waltz, a fierce Trump ally, for this World Exclusive.
Ambassador Waltz, thank you so much for giving up your time to talk to GB News today. We're in day 6 of the conflict with Iran. What do you see so far as the major victories for you and your allies?
Well, they're multifold, and as the president has said, we're actually ahead of schedule along the lines of his stated objectives for this operation. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. They cannot have this massive cache of ballistic missiles that can strike areas of Europe, Israel, and now, as we see, even their Gulf neighbors, which they apparently are fully prepared to do, and to degrade their naval assets, which they have held like a sword of Damocles over global energy supplies. So the U.S. military, the Israeli military, and now increasingly with our partners and allies are degrading all of those capabilities: the nuclear, the ballistic missile, the naval, and then finally their ability to use their terrorist proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, and others to terrorize the region, as they've done now for nearly 5 decades as the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Now, you're based there in New York. You work, of course, with the UN on behalf of America. What concerns do you hear, specifically maybe from European leaders, about this particular mission?
Well, there's certainly no love lost for the Iranian regime. Keep in mind, we just had a session at the United Nations a little over a month ago after the regime literally wholesale massacred tens of thousands of their own people, machine gunning people in the street for daring to demand some basic liberties and freedom. So we hear the condemnation of the regime, yet we also hear a lot of hand-wringing that President Trump, is taking the bold action that, frankly, I think is long overdue to do something about it. At the same time, many European leaders agree with UN resolution after UN resolution going back decades, saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, should not have the means to deliver it, including to places across Europe. At the same time, they have some issue with the fact that President Trump has done something more than issue strongly worded letters and resolutions. Look, at the end of the day, the entire world will be safer. This war started in 1979 by the Iranian regime. They have killed hundreds of Americans and our allies, if not thousands, over the years. And now what we're hearing in the UN is actually uniform condemnation by our Gulf Arab allies, as they have airports, embassies, ports, shipping, and others struck by this regime as it lashes out in all directions.
Not an easy decision, though, for President Trump, perhaps, given that a lot of the rest of the world lack the backbone, let's put it like that, to have taken action, as you said, preferring strongly worded letters over the years. So was he prepared for international pushback, or maybe let's be more generous, international reticence, let's say, that this was not the right thing to do? Did he know that would be coming down the line? And has it surprised you all how much reluctance there's been, particularly on the part of the UK, to get involved in an offensive capacity?
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Well, frankly, I think it's been a bit disappointing from our long-time diplomatic, military, intelligence ally in the United Kingdom. I think it's something we'll absolutely work through as allies and partners. But at the end of the day, President Trump knows that he is taking care of a long-standing problem before it truly, before the regime has the ability to come after all of us with a nuclear-tipped arsenal. We cannot wait until that's after the fact. We cannot wait until that is a fait accompli. And look, President Trump has given diplomacy a chance over and over again. Last fall, last spring, before Operation Midnight Hammer, severely damaged and obliterated 3 mountains with deeply buried enrichment capabilities. And now we once again tried again to put diplomacy first, and yet we saw that the regime was buying time and not negotiating in good faith. He saw the opportunity to take down their leadership structure that's highly radicalized, seeking a nuclear weapon, seeking the missiles to deliver them, and looking to interrupt global shipping lanes. He saw that opportunity and he took it.
Prime Minister Starmer said in a press conference today, he revealed, actually, it was the final moment of the press conference, he said that he hasn't spoken to the president since Saturday night. You know, it's now Thursday night, and that means that they haven't spoken for several days. How do you fix the relationship with the UK if they aren't even on speaking terms on the phone at such a critical time?
Well, look, I think I'll leave that to the president and Secretary Rubio in terms of that level of engagement. At the military level, at the working level, our intelligence agencies, I think that cooperation will and should continue. But at the end of the day, as a partner and ally, we have to make each other's bases available. You can't pull the rug out from under us at the last minute. And I think the world will eventually thank President Trump for taking care of this issue before it truly threatens us all. Just as the world, we saw the hand-wringing with the Board of Peace, yet as it pertains to Gaza, yet we have a ceasefire in place, humanitarian aid is flowing, the hostages are released. So look, we welcome the ideas, we welcome the input, we'll work together as partners, but President Trump is not a president of endless talk. He's a president of action. He's not going to continue to admire the world's problems. He's going to take meaningful action to resolve them. And we hope and will always seek to have our partners and allies alongside us as we do that.
The United Kingdom has a naval ship, Dragon, which can be in position, Ambassador Waltz, but I hate to tell you, it's going to take them a couple of weeks to get there. The British people, I think, are a little embarrassed by that Dragon is breathing no fire, let's just say, at the moment. How badly do you need that support from the UK? And do you want to see us take more of an offensive position as opposed to being wedded to merely defending the Allies?
Well, look, I mean, this is why we have said over and over again that our European allies must invest in their own defense. The 2% minimum that less than 7 countries a decade ago contributed. And now we have all 30, and we're moving towards 5%, but it is going to take quite some time to get those ships and missiles and munitions all off the assembly line and in a place where we can either defend each other or take down threats before they fester and become untenable. Of course, we would welcome that help. We need those capabilities. The United States can't do it all alone. I'll leave it again to the Pentagon and to Secretary Rubio to iron out that coordination.
I do wonder whether it's partly that the UK always thought that war in the 21st century would come in the form of cyber attacks, that maybe we were caught napping, that we didn't think that missiles dropping on countries not that far from where we exist was going to happen. But we are also hearing today that there are some Iranian-linked hackers who appear to have launched a cyber campaign targeting American companies. Is there anything more you can tell us about that, Ambassador Waltz? And is that the kind of thing that the UK may be useful in helping to avert?
Well, certainly we have both the technology sharing, we have the intelligence sharing, we have the Five Eyes construct, Iran, North Korea, other adversaries are constantly probing, constantly coming after our industry, our industrial base, our critical infrastructure. We have to work together to defend against those threats. But I can tell you, as a Green Beret, as a former Special Forces officer, as a veteran, this notion that war will always be done with a joystick and through a keyboard is absolutely false and fictitious. War is ugly. It's done in the trenches. You have to be physically and mentally ready. Just look at the front lines of Ukraine right now. It is vicious and brutal. And this is why you've seen Secretary Hegseth focus so much on readiness, on standards, on moving us away from these kind of woke ideologies. Our militaries can't be a social experiment. Our militaries have to be ready to fight man to man, woman to woman in the trenches. And that means the standards are the standards and nothing else matters.
And just lastly, if I may, the president has been at pains to stress to the American people he does not want this to turn into a long and protracted conflict. He said 4 weeks is the tentative line that he's drawn in the sand with this. Keir Starmer said today to the world's press, this may go on for some time. Who is right there?
Well, I would just reframe the entire issue. This war has been dragging on for 47 years. Just ask the Iranian regime that chants death to America at the opening of every one of its parliament sessions. So they have been at war with us since 1979. I have fellow soldiers that are dead or maimed at the hands of Iranian IEDs and missiles. They have funded terrorism all over the world, literally in the Western Hemisphere, in the Middle East and elsewhere. They plotted to assassinate President Trump. What I so deeply appreciate about him is he said enough. We're not going to keep kicking the can, and we're certainly not going to have such a regime have a nuclear weapons program for which it could hold the entire world hostage. So he will, I have no doubt, end this decisively, but it started back in 1979 under the presidency of Jimmy Carter when he took Americans hostage and held them for 444 days.
Ambassador Mike Waltz, thank you so much for joining us on The Late Show Live. We really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Right, great stuff. That was our very own Bev Turner interviewing Mike Waltz, the ambassador to the United Nations, President Trump's former national security advisor, fierce Trump ally. Some stern and stark words for Keir Starmer, for the Labour government, and also saying a great point, which we'll discuss with the panel in just a second, about this war not starting on Saturday. It started many, many years ago. And to be honest, it's the first time I've heard that kind of concept, and it's hard to disagree with it.